Welcome to the podcast, From One Mother of an Addict to Another. This is a space of sharing heartfelt personal experiences, insightful thoughts, and powerful suggestions, which can hopefully assist and offer strength navigating your journey alongside a loved one facing addiction and mental illness.
Hi, welcome to the episode, If I Could Start Over. As a mom, I spent over 14 and a half years on this crazy cycle of shame and guilt over my son's struggle with the addiction. If I could start all over again, this is what I would probably do sooner than later. And I feel by helping you at the stage where you're at, maybe you won't struggle and carry this burden as long as I have. And I hope these suggestions can help you move forward quicker. The first part would be, to just stop enabling him. What does that look like? How do you do that? I wish I would have cut off money. I wish I would have been able to say no. I wish I would have been able to handle his manipulation. I wish I also knew how I could do that. Nobody ever gave me that information. And I wasn't able to address that because I would protect my kid at any cost. And that is not okay with a kid that's an addict. It works with your other children, but not an addict. And that is why I had such issues in letting go, because I was so wrapped up in protecting my son to the very end, protecting him till from anything and at all costs to himself as well as myself. So those are definitely one of, a couple of things that I would have changed at the beginning, and how I hope that you can change these things by a couple of suggestions that I'm going to give you to implement. I believe, one of the things that you have to address is what's going on in your home right now. I don't know what's going on in your home right now, but only you know. So you need to look at it, address it, and put down all the things that are really going on in your house. What you could handle, what you can't, how you're addressing it. I wasn't as focused on those elements as well as I should have been. I was focusing more on survival mode. And if you're in survival mode, that's definitely something I would have changed sooner than later. And my outcome personally would have come sooner than later. And instead of waiting for your addict to let go of you, in some ways, you need to let go of them. And not that you don't love them, not that you don't want them in your life, you do, but you need to be able to put that boundary in place so that it's not affecting every aspect of your life, of your family, to the point where you're all dysfunctional. So one of the things that I would start immediately is change the way you're loving your kid. What's going to work? How are you going to do that? What is that going to look like? Well, you're going to have to do the opposite of what you're doing now. How they need to be loved in different ways. Well, I would have set those boundaries and been stronger with my ability to carry through on my feeling of no, you're not going to do that. I wouldn't have gotten him a car. I shouldn't have gotten him a car. And then when he crashed it, I got another car. And then when he left me with a lease, I got another car again after the fact. How is he going to drive around? How is he going to get to work? A lot of manipulation there, but I allowed that to happen. So I can't blame him. But I know that I needed to work on my strengths, and I needed to reach out and say, okay, I need help with this. I can't control myself. And that's where I really believe like they have sober companions for people that are sober that need assistance and need support, personal support. They're like a coach. It's the same thing for parents. It's an awesome, awesome thing to have and be able to have. I do it now, and I do it for many people. But one of the things that I wish I had back then is the ability to have someone help me get through that and talk. Because no matter, you can talk to a million people, but if you're not going to listen and you're not going to do what you're told or what you should be doing, you're not going to be successful in this at all. Unfortunately, you don't have the answers. I know you wish you did. If you're the type of person that knows everything, you know nothing. You're better off going into everything knowing nothing, because this way you'll open your ears and eyes to everything that comes your way. You need to be so observant of what is going on with your addict. If they're living in your home, you need to address this. You need to really acknowledge, what are they doing on a daily basis? How are they acting? What triggers them? What do you say that gets them angry? Why are they getting angry? Are they sweating? Do you find that they're not getting up at night? They're getting up in the middle of the night. Do you find that they're drinking a lot? He's drinking so much. Or all these side effects of maybe he's withdrawing from some drugs. Maybe he's so drunk that he's stumbling on the stairs. Whatever it is and whatever you acknowledge, just acknowledge it. Don't make excuses for it, and figure out how you're going to talk to them about it immediately. And not let it go and not think, oh, okay, drank a little too much last night. Oh, no, he's just a kid. He's just acting out. No, these are the rules. These are the boundaries. Go back to your boundaries. Set them. Make a list. There's no way you're going to remember it. And make it and go over it again. Go talk to them. I would have done this. I would have gone up and said, okay, these are the boundaries we set. You need to go to school every day. You need to figure out what sport you're going to get involved in, whatever that is. You are going to help around the house and do one chore a day. You will not be able to drive past 10 o'clock at night. You are to be home for school the next day and all ready. Those are some of the things you can implement and write down on pieces of paper, whatever else that looks like to you. Maybe also you must see a therapist 2 times a week. Maybe you must attend an outpatient program. And those are all the things. Now, typically, they say, no, I'm not doing it. That's where the next step would come in. But again, that takes a lot of strength. And I wasn't able to do it back then. Now, if I had someone by my side that was able to support me in that way, I would have had to have done it. But instead, I was able to make a lot of excuses to myself, to people around me, why I hadn't done it. So that's another factor in this. And I am telling you, I see it now after 14 and a half years. The people that listen, the people that implement right away, the people that address what is going on right away are the ones that are much more successful down the road. They are much more successful with getting the family intact. They are much more successful with the addict and working with the addict and not letting it get to a place where it's completely out of control. Now, the other thing that I would have done, that I would have changed is, basically the way you love someone. I love my son and I loved him at all costs. And that's not how you can be. You can't love them at all costs, so change that around. You love them, and you're there for them. What does that look like? Well, you let them know you love them, and you want to help them. But help them get better. Not help them buy drugs by them giving them money for food, which they don't use for food, or they're stealing from you your purse or you're missing things, and you're not addressing them. Those are things that you need to implement and address and not make excuses for right away. Anything like that starts becoming a danger if they get in your face, But what I would say is that, loving your kid, all of us love show love in a different way. Some need to show by purchasing things for them and giving them lots of gifts, and making them happy is another one, like making sure they're happy. They might not need the fulfillment of gifts, but maybe you need them to feel happy all the time, which is ridiculous because no one could be happy all the time. You could be an optimistic person, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're happy all the time. So one of the things I definitely would have changed was the way I showed my love, and the way that he knew that I had love for him, that I would go to all expense for keeping him out of trouble. To me, that was love and showing my love. But that wasn't what would have helped him necessarily. They need to fall. If they get expelled from school, let them get expelled. That's basically what I'm telling you. You can't protect them. If they're carrying drugs in their backpack and they're heading to school and you know it's in their backpack, you try to explain to them not to do it. There's nothing else you could do, right? Because this kid is going to do it if they want it or not. So basically, but you need to encourage that point that you don't want to do that. This is what your life would look like down the road. Please, let's sit down. Let's try to figure this out. I realized that I took this upon myself at the time. I had no clue what I was doing. I thought I was the only one that could save him. And that definitely wasn't the right way to go. I would have changed that. And he became more codependent on me emotionally. I sat there and I listened to his constant antics of mania, of constantly speaking and getting frustration out. And he didn't want to hear anything. He just wanted you to listen for hours. And then you find yourself almost being like browbeaten and abused. So that is definitely not somewhere you want to go. So you have to stop it in its tracks. So if they start to go that route, say, I'd love to listen, but I have something going on right now, so I'm going to get back to you. That is how you stop that quickly. Because getting into confrontations or sitting there as their therapist is not your job. You can't do that for them. And it only makes them more codependent on you. And I guess, one of the other big things that I would have changed, which is really, really important, is I would have surrounded myself on a daily basis with more people that were struggling like myself with an addict. Back then, 14 and a half years ago, very similar today. I mean, there's a lot of shame in it. It took me a while to tell people, my friends, and but they knew something was wrong. You could see it in everyone's face, and so basically, I would have addressed it differently, and I would have tried to build a stronger circle of friends that can relate to what I was going through, and what I can relate what they were going through, and we had that in. And can support each other to be stronger, and to be able to acknowledge and point out to each other that not only can we not save our kids, but the importance of saving ourselves and not spending years on the same cycle that our kids are on, because that's what happens. You become the same cycle as the addict, and all you're doing is living your life as chaotic as them, because you're just living for the next shoe to drop. And you need to cut that. You need to stop that. And the only way to stop that is for you to be strong enough to say, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want it anymore. And, it took my son to really say the most horrific, accusatory things to me. And that is it. That was the point where I said, that's it. Because you see, all you're hearing is they don't really love you. They can't love you because they don't love themselves at this point. So what they're doing is they're just appeasing you. They're trying to, get things out of you and use you for the moment. But the second that they can't use you anymore, you're no good to them. So it's hard to see that when you're in the midst of it or want to see it, because you can't believe that the kid that you bringing up, that you have given all your money to, that you have given them the best life that you can give them, have treated you in return the way he is treating you or she. So that is really the advice that I can give, and about if I could start over. And I think it's really important to write down, if I was where I was then, I would write down exactly what is going on, what needs to change in the house, why I am feeling overwhelmed with behaviors, the type of behaviors, not willing to get help, willing to get help. Does it look like there's a mental illness factor in there? Maybe, maybe not. Don't negate that. There's a lot that comes with dual, going into rehab centers and dual diagnosis. It's something that you should really not look away from, because if they're on drugs and they're depressed and all kinds of things, can lead them into psychosis and other mental health issues that might have been there that have been brought to the surface. So especially for bipolar, if you're seeing mania, if you're seeing the sabotaging going on, you're seeing the highs and the lows and the valleys and the peaks, and you really can get a handle of how often it's happening, and when it's happening, and if there's anything that sets it off, what's coming before it starts. Those are really things to follow. I was able to follow that because it was going on for a while, and you could see the sabotaging after things were going great. And so basically and then the mania, and then them not sleeping. So all these are things that should be on your list, things that you see now. And that's why keeping journals is so important, because you could keep track and look back, because you're not going to remember everything. But okay, this day, he looks like he's starting his mania. This day, he's agitated. I can't talk to him about anything unless I agree with him. This day, when I said no to money, he became hysterical and got in my face. Those are the things you need to write down and remember, because these are things that you're going to have to address sooner than later. So I guess, I guess what I can't look back now and say, okay, I can do that, but I don't want to look back and say that I should have or could have. This is not a should have or could have thing. This is just what you're going to do now. So if you're at the beginning of your stage of this, dealing with the struggles of an addict, then this is great. If you're at the 14, 15 years in or 20 years in, this is great too, because you got to stick to it. And that is what it comes down to. You have to be able to have a community within your community, and support and build a strength that will help you get through the times when you can't do this alone. And that's something that you should think about. And that comes from going to classes and groups and any kind of group out there. It could be an online group. It could be in a Facebook group. There's so many things out there today that weren't there before. And there's still so much shame. And there's still so much guilt. So it doesn't matter. Things haven't changed that much for parents coping with their kids' addiction, because it's not them that are doing it. And it's so disruptive to everybody's life that it's really important to have that community feel.
Thanks for tuning in. I trust this episode brought you insight and strength, offering valuable coping strategies. Stay connected with weekly content, plus follow if you enjoyed, and be sure to journal for your own self-care.